So first law of thermodynamics for a closed system undergoing change of state. So we know that our first law states the law of conservation of energy. Okay, energy is neither created nor destroyed, so it gets transformed from one form to another. So we know that things. So from the first law of thermodynamics, we can say the law of conservation of energy. So energy is neither created nor destroyed, it gets converts from one form to another. So in a better way, we can say the energy is always conserved quantity wise. So that is better here to mention. So what is first law of thermodynamics? Energy is conserved quantity wise. So to elaborate this, we can consider a system. So these things in your previous course, that is in HS, you know these things. So just I want to explain here. So how if if we consider a system, if energy is added to the system, so what will happen? So for that, just I want to draw a system here. So this is your system, and system boundary is there, and surrounding also present. So system is separated by a boundary. So that boundary is known as system boundary. So everybody knows these things. So this is your boundary. And if we add this system, then what will happen? So energy of the system increases. At the same time, work may be developed by the system. So work may be developed by the system. So here, say Q, that is your rate of heat transfer into the system, and the energy of the system will be increased, and consequently, so power will be developed or work will be developed. So here W is there, so W is the what is developed. So Q, that is your heat, is added to the system, and it is a closed system. System boundary is there, and system is separated from the surrounding by system boundary, and if heat is added to the system, then energy of the system will increase, and consequently work may be developed by the system. And your system boundary. So different types of boundary, you know these things. So diathermal boundary or adiabatic boundary, if heat can cross the system boundary, then it is called diathermal boundary. If there is no possibility to exchange heat between system and surrounding, then it is adiabatic boundary. Okay. So QW work is produced by the system and Q is heat is added to the system. So mathematically here, so mathematically we can write here, so Q that should be equal to delta E plus W. So you know these things in a better way. So just today I want to discuss here. So Q, that is your heat is added to the system. So conventionally, so two possibilities are there. You know these things. If heat is added to the system, we generally consider positive heat, and heat is rejected from the system, we can generally consider negative. So we can generally consider negative. And here E is there. So E is the energy of the system, and W, that is work is developed by the system or work is developed on the system. So depending upon the condition, we have to consider whether W is positive or negative. If work is done on the system, then W is negative, and if work is done by the system, then W is positive. So here E is there. So E is the energy. That means Q, E, and W all are energies. So what difference is there? So Q and W. So that is heat and W. So these two uh, are energies are identified at the boundary when they cross the boundary, and that means it is a boundary. They are boundary phenomena, and they depend on the path, and these two are not a property of a system. So that means, so two type of energy here we can write here. So we can classify energy. It has two type, that is energy in transit and energy in storage. So here you write energy in transit. So Q and W are energy in transit category. So that is example Q and W here for energy in transit, and Q and W are not a system property. It depends on path. And another one, so energy in storage here. So energy E is this in this category. So E in this category, energy in storage. So it is a property of a system. It depends on state function or state points. It depends on. It does not depend on path. And here another energy, that is Q and W. So that is energy in transit. So when these two cross the system boundary, at that moment we can identify it. Uh, that's why it is energy in transit, and Q and W are not a property of a system. It depends on path. Now, uh, Q, heat is added. If you add heat to the system, then that Q may be positive. If heat is rejected from a system, that Q may be negative. So depending upon your convention, you can and choose. So this convention has been considered arbitrarily. So if Q is added to the system, you can consider it is positive, or reverse, you can consider it. It may be negative depending upon your selection. Now E is there, that is energy. Now energy, it has again two parts. So energy has two parts. So one, a microscopic part, and another one macroscopic part here. So microscopic and macroscopic. That is your now energy W, Q, all are energies definitely, and this is energy in storage. So it is a property of a system. It depends on state points. It does not depend on path. So it has two parts. Obviously, energy consists of two parts. That is microscopic part and macroscopic part. Okay, and E, that is your energy. It is a property. So we know that there are two types of property, that is intensive property and extensive property. If property, if one property depends on mass, then it is extensive property, and if a property does not depend on mass, that is your intensive property. So obviously E here, energy depends on mass, so it is extensive property, and extensive property per unit mass, it should be intensive property. So here microscopic and macroscopic, and microscopic, here, so from this part we can get the internal energy term. So U. So U is possible to obtain from the microscopic part of energy. That is your internal energy. This is your internal energy, and macroscopic energy. So potential energy and kinetic energy here plus kinetic energy. Now U, that is your internal energy, and it can be uh, identified, or it can be determined from the microscopic property of a molecule. Just we have to consider a molecule, and from the molecular energy, it is an internal energy. So U consists of a lot of energies. So for understanding here, you just consider one molecule. Then this molecule collides with other molecule, and this molecule collides with the wall surface, and the results, different energy will be produced. Different energy will be produced, and if we include all this energy, and it will be internal energy. Say for example here, so U, just we want to get the value of U. So how we can get this? Just we consider one molecule, and then one container, and in that container n number of molecules are there, and for that we just consider one single molecule, and if one molecule collides with other molecule, and this molecule collide with wall surface, then energy will be produced, and all energy will be accumulated to get the internal energy. And obviously n molecule have been considered, so n number of, if we multiply n, then we will get the U. So that means in a better way, if just I want to explain here, just consider one molecule, and that molecule collides with other molecule, and wall surface, and then your molecules gets translated, gets rotated like this. And for this here, for the single molecule here, so energy, say epsilon, for the single molecule, your energy for the translation, that energy is epsilon trans. Here you consider here translation, so suffix translation, So for translational motion, energy will be produced. So that energy, that is your for a single molecule, then possibility is there to rotate the molecule. So that means rotational energy should be considered to determine the internal energy, and this is for a single molecule. So epsilon suffix rotation. So when translation occurs, obviously one molecule collides with other molecule. Then uh, translational condition will be obtained. Rotational condition is also possible, and like this. And then due to rotation, so energy will be produced. So that rotational energy plus epsilon, that is your, so possibility is there to vibrate, so that vibrational energy should be considered here. So vibration, that is your vibrational energy of one molecule plus, so electrons are there, so for that electrons energy, then nuclear energy. So proton neutron conversion, for this energy has come, nuclear energy plus chemical energy. Chemical energy. So all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 energies, say it can be denoted by epsilon. Epsilon. And n number of molecules are there. So internal energy U, that should be equal to n number of molecules. This is your number of molecules in a container. And then n into epsilon, that is your internal energy. Okay, so internal energy is a microscopic energy, and if you know all this energy, then it can be possible to determine. And another part, that is your macroscopic energy. So it is very simple here. Macroscopic energy, and it has two components. So you know the kinetic energy plus potential energy. So kinetic energy plus potential energy. So how kinetic energy can be determined? So just we have to consider a fluid element, and if the velocity of the fluid element is v and mass of the fluid element m, then kinetic energy, that part should be equal to half of m into v square. So that is your m is the mass of the fluid element here, and mass velocity here, or mass here, fluid element velocity, that is v here. So fluid element velocity v, mass of the fluid element m, and half mv square. So everybody knows these things. And plus your kinetic energy, say md into z here. So m is the mass of the fluid element, g is the acceleration or gravitational acceleration, and z is the elevation with respect to a datum, and datum can be considered arbitrarily. So this is your elevation with respect to an arbitrary datum. So this is an arbitrary datum. So depending upon your problem, you can select this Z. Okay, so therefore here mathematically, uh, so total or energy, it is a storage, stored energy, or energy in storage, that is a system property. So it has two part, that is microscopic part. In microscopic part, so internal energy is there, so that can be determined and by this mathematical expression. So n is the number of molecule, and epsilon is the energy of each molecule. So that has 6 components. Okay, so if these 6 components are known, then it is possible to determine the internal energy. And another energy, that is your macroscopic energy. So it is very simple way to determine. if the mass velocity of the fluid element V is known and mass of the fluid element M is known, then kinetic energy is half mv square plus mgz, where z is the data with respect to an arbitrary elevation, z is the elevation with respect to an arbitrary datum. So that is your E, and here W is there. So different type of works are can be considered. Different types of work W, that is work done by the system, it is positive, and work done on the system, that is negative here. So W here, different type of work can be considered here. So number one, you can consider say PdV work. So for the PdV work here, so WPdV you can first write here. So PdV, or sometimes it is called displacement work. So W, so different types. So this is PdV, that is your displacement work. So for that you can consider a piston cylinder. So this is your cylinder and piston is there. Then inside pressure is P, and for this pressure, say displacement of cylinder piston, displacement of piston occurs as a result work is developed, and say volume changes, say that volume is changing, volume is say dV here. This is your change in volume dV, and then integration is necessary to get this PdV work or displacement work. So that means here displacement work displacement work or PdV work, that should be equal to PdV and integration of V1 to V2. So initial position V1, final position V2. Okay, so that work can be considered here in W. So that is your displacement work plus shaft work. That is also possible to consider here. So W shaft. Shaft work. So shaft is there. So shaft is generally used to transmit power from one shaft to another. So for this transmission, so torque is produced. This torque into angular velocity, that should be the shaft torque. So that's what can be considered here. So W shaft. Okay. So shaft torque, shaft generally used to transmit power from one shaft to another, and during transmission, torque will develop, and that torque into angular velocity will give the shaft torque. So that is your shaft torque, W shaft. So then electrical work, that is also possible to consider here. So electrical work. Electrical work. Say current is flowing through a resistance here. This is your resistance and current is flowing, and for that one potential difference has produced. Say here potential difference is V. This is your potential difference V, and current is I. Then W electrical, that should be equal to V into I. So V into I. So that should be considered here, or this mathematical expression can be used to determine the electrical work. Okay, so that is also possible here to include in W. And another work, so paddle work is also possible to consider, or steering work. So W paddle. Okay, and another work you can consider, that is your work developed in stretching a wire. So work developed in stretching a wire here. So that is stretching or WST. You consider here. So this WST equal to here you write work developed in stretching a wire. So many types of works are there in W. So generally, from thermodynamics point of view, so generally we consider PdV work or displacement work. PdV work or displacement work we generally consider. But so many type of works can be possible to include in W. So that is your first law of thermodynamics, that is mathematical expression and already given for a closed system undergoing change of state. Okay. Now this is your expression. If you want to write this mathematical expression in differential form, then what will happen here? So you know these things. So just I am to write this Q in differential form. So obviously here Q, that is heat, is added. So positive Q has been considered. If we consider Q is positive, so heat is added to the system. And your energy, that is your system property, energy in storage or stored energy, and that is your W, work done by the system if we consider W is positive. Now if you want to write this expression in differential form, so in differential form, then here we have to use so delta Q here. So that is your differential form of Q. Differential form of Q, and that should be here dE plus delta W. So obviously here delta operator has been used and D operator has been used. You know these things. As it is a path function, it is not a system property. So exact differential operator cannot be possible to consider in case of Q and W. So this is inexact differential function. That's why inexact operator has been used for Q and W, and E is a system property. That's why exact D operator has been used here. Okay, so that is your the first law of thermodynamics when a system undergoing change of state. Change of state here. Now, if we neglect this kinetic energy and potential energy, then this E term can be replaced by here only internal energy U. So this is one thing. Or you can write this mathematical expression per unit mass. Per unit mass, if you want to write this mathematical expression, this is the heat transfer rate. Heat transfer rate here, del Q, and this is your energy. This is a property, extensive property. It depends on mass here. Depends on mass. And this is also work developed by the system. Now just we want to write this expression per unit mass. Then what will happen here? So this expression can be written in this way. So delta small q here, small q means heat transfer rate per unit mass. Per unit mass, that is your small q. Here q is the heat transfer rate here, and q is the heat transfer rate per unit mass, or heat transfer total, and here heat transfer per unit mass. So that's small q, and that should be equal equal to d of small e here. So small e, that is your here the energy per unit mass. That is your intensive property here. E here, intensive property means extensive property per unit mass. So E divided by M, that is small e here, and plus that can be W should be small w can be considered here per unit mass. So this expression is valid for per unit mass, and this is uh, expression depends on mass here, depends on mass. So in this way, it is possible to write the first law, first law of thermodynamics. So first law of thermodynamics can be expressed in this way: when the system is undergoing the change of state. Now another important terminology is there, that is the H, enthalpy. Everybody knows. So that is H is the enthalpy. So enthalpy, that should be equal to internal energy plus P into V here. Have been used here, and through two ports fluid enters the contour volume. Okay, and uh, the 2 section, that is your exit port. Fluid leaves the contour volume through this port. Okay, so under this situation, just we want to make the mass balance. Okay, so we want to make the mass balance under this situation. So this is your 3 3, this is your 1 1. Through these two ports, fluid enters the contour volume. And then, so here at 3 3 section, say cross section, say A3 is known quantity, and velocity say V3, and specific volume say small v3. Small v1 plus a3 capital V3 divided by small v3, that should be equal to a2 into capital V2 divided by small v2. Okay, so that means mass balance is possible here to uh, for our steady flow process, uh, for this diagram. So here two ports are there. Through these two ports, fluid enters the control volume, and one port is use to leave the fluid from the control volume. And mathematical expression, that is mass flow rate m1 dot mass flow rate through the one section and M3 dot, that is mass flow rate, to the C3 section. So we have to add these two, M1 plus M3, and that should be equal to M2 dot under steady state situation. Under steady state situation. The steady state has been mentioned here, or steady flow has been mentioned. Or steady flow has been mentioned. So under steady flow or steady state situation. So this is your mass balance. So similarly here we can get the energy balance. So another thing is there, mass balance and energy balance. So for energy balance, so simplest diagram can be considered. Like once again, so one port is there for entering the fluid into the control volume. So this is your inlet port here, and section 1 here. So this is 1 section, and 2 section here, and you just consider a control volume or control surface. Dotted line should be considered. This is your dotted line, and here this is control surface and control volume here. So at the say at the inlet, the area, cross sectional area is A1. Velocity at the inlet, that is velocity of the fluid at the inlet, that is capital V1, and specific volume of the fluid at the inlet, that is small v1, and pressure at the inlet, pressure of the working fluid or fluid at the inlet, that is say P1. And so internal energy here we should consider here, because energy balance will be required or will be considered here. Energy balance will be considered. For that here, say internal energy at the inlet, so that should be known, say E1 at the inlet. And datum head, you can all another for the potential energy. So elevation with respect to arbitrary datum, so that z value is necessary to know. So we can neglect here z, datum head difference, we can neglect it. We can neglect it here, or you can write here, say datum head, say z1. So A1, B1, B1, P1, B1, and Z1. So at the exit, so similar properties, say area at the exit A2, that is your known, and velocity at the exit, that is V2, specific volume of the fluid at the exit, that is small v2, and pressure at the exit, that is P2, and internal energy here, that is U2, and datum head, that is your Z2 at the exit. And here say Q is added to the control volume, so that is your Q dot. And work W, work done by the control volume, so that is your W dot. That is your W dot. Okay. So under this condition, just we make an energy balance. So that means energy entering the control volume under steady state situation, energy entering the control volume, that should be equal to energy leaving the control volume. Okay, so this balance is required. If we do this balance, then we can get one equation. We can get one equation. That equation will be steady flow energy equation. So that equation will be called steady flow energy equation. So from the first law of thermodynamics here, you can write here. So energy entering the control volume under steady state situation or steady flow process, energy entering the control volume that should be equal to energy leaving the control volume. Energy leaving the control volume under the steady state situation or under steady state here. You write under steady state. Under steady state. So from the diagram here, this is your leaving direction, and this is inlet port, and this is exit port. So energy entering the control volume, that should be equal to. So here mass flow rate is there. Say mass flow rate at the inlet, say M1. Mass flow rate at the inlet is M1. So M1 from this to write this energy entering the control volume. So that should be equal to mass flow rate at the inlet, say M1 dot. M1 dot is the mass flow rate into part into, say, here internal energy is there. So we have to use this internal energy at the inlet U1 plus, P1 V1 is there. As P1 V1 is there, so P1 and V1, this multiplication, P1 V1 represents the flow energy. So we should consider the flow energy at the inlet. So E1 plus flow energy P1 V1, P1 V1, that is your flow energy. This is your internal energy plus flow energy plus kinetic energy plus potential energy. So plus kinetic energy, say half of V1 square plus potential energy, say G into Z1. Okay. Then this heat energy entering the control volume, this plus, say already I have given Q dot. Q dot, that is your heat added to the control volume as shown in figure here. So that Q dot part should be considered here. So that Q dot is the heat entering the control volume here. So total energy entering the control volume, that should be M1 dot into E1, that is your internal energy plus flow energy plus kinetic energy plus potential energy plus the external heat added to the system or added to the control volume. E dot. And energy leaving the control volume, this part equal to energy leaving this control volume. So this part equal to similar fashion here. So at the exit, mass flow rate is M2 dot into internal energy here. Say U2 is the internal energy plus flow energy at the exit. That is pressure P2 is here and specific volume V2. So P2 into V2 here plus kinetic energy plus half of V2 square plus potential energy G into Z2, G into Z2, that is your potential energy, then bracket close here, then another work leaving or another energy leaving the control volume, that is work is developed by the control volume that has been given here. So this W dot is leaving the control volume, so that energy should be considered here, say W dot. And these two will be the same under steady state situation. Energy entering the control volume, that should be equal to energy leaving the control volume under steady state situation. So using uh, 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 if we do these two same, then we get one equation. This part equal to this part, so it will be m1 dot into here, say internal energy at the inlet E1 plus P1 pressure into specific volume V1, that is flow energy at the inlet plus kinetic energy at the inlet of V1 square plus G into Z1 bracket close plus Q, that is your heat transfer rate into the control volume, or heat is added to the system, that is Q, which should be um, considered here in the energy expression. So that is your energy entering the control volume, and that should be equal to m2 dot into internal energy E2 plus flow energy P2 plus half of V2 square here, V2 square, that is velocity at the exit, plus datum head G potential energy GZ2 and bracket close plus W dot. Now already we have obtained from the mass balance m1 dot equal to m2 dot, m1 dot equal to m2 dot. So for this diagram, m1 dot equal to m2 dot. So if m1 dot equal to m2, that is equal to say m dot here. So m1 dot equal to m2 here, that is equal to m dot, that is equal to m dot here. So under steady state situation, then what will happen here? Now how this equation can be simplified? You know, E1 plus P1 V1, so that is your enthalpy part, specific enthalpy at inlet. Say you can denote it, say H1. So therefore here E1 plus P1 V1, so that should be H1 here. So H1 plus half V1 square, half V1 square plus GZ1 plus say Q dot divided by M dot here. Q dot divided by M dot. So that is your part. Then here that should be equal to say H2. H2 means here H2 here. H2 means U2 plus P2 V2. So that is your enthalpy at the exit. So U2 plus P2 V2, that is equal to enthalpy H2 H2 plus kinetic energy half of V2 square plus G of Z2 D of Z2 plus W divided by M dot. So this is your steady flow energy equation here. So we can write here the above equation is called steady flow energy equation. So this is steady flow energy equation. Steady flow energy equation. Steady flow energy equation. So within bracket you can write say S E E. So steady flow energy equation. So that above equation is called steady flow energy equation. That means at the inlet, say enthalpy 1 plus kinetic energy at the inlet plus potential energy plus heat transfer if heat is added to the system. So that is total heat added to the system Q dot divided by mass flow rate, and that should be equal to H2, that is specific enthalpy at exit plus kinetic energy per unit mass flow rate plus potential energy per unit mass flow rate plus work done by the system per unit mass flow rate W. So W dot is there. This is your W dot divided by M dot. So this is steady flow energy equation. So this equation very much important to analysis for steady flow situation or under steady flow situation. So this equation is needed to analysis any system. Now, for example, we can consider say nozzle flow examples. So how this is used? For this, we just consider a nozzle flow here. This is nozzle flow. Actually, nozzle is a smoothly varying cross section in which pressure energy of the working fluid is converted into kinetic energy. So nozzle is a device in which pressure energy of the working fluid is converted into kinetic energy in order to obtain a high velocity. So nozzle is used to increase the velocity of steam or velocity of fluid, to increase the velocity of the fluid, and it is a smoothly varying cross section in which pressure energy of the working fluid is converted into kinetic energy, and at the exit the velocity uh, uh, will be increased at the exit, or nozzle has been used to increase the velocity. So to increase the velocity, and depending upon the shape, nozzle can be classified into three categories. So this is three categories, three shapes of nozzles are there. Three shapes. One is convergent nozzle. This is your shape of the nozzle here. And this is wall of the nozzle. And fluid flow takes place in this direction. So flow takes place in this direction. And then, so in this direction, flow takes place. And in the flow direction, the cross section of the nozzle decreases here. Cross section of the nozzle decreases. So as cross section of the nozzle decreases, in the flow direction, velocity increases. Okay, so velocity increases in this direction, and this is the exit section of the nozzle, and this is the inlet section of the nozzle. So fluid flow takes place in this direction, and along this direction the flow velocity gradually increases, and this is inlet, this is exit, and this shape of nozzle is called convergent nozzle. So this is convergent nozzle here. Convergent nozzle. So nozzle can be used to increase the velocity. It is a smoothly varying cross section in which pressure energy of the working fluid is converted into kinetic energy. And this shape is called convergent shape, or this is a convergent nozzle. Convergent nozzle. So three shapes are there. Three nozzle shapes are there. One is convergent nozzle, another one is convergent divergent, and the last one, that is third one, is divergent nozzle. So this is your convergent nozzle, and another shape is there. So if convergent divergent nozzle, so initially convergent shape, then shape is minimum, and further like this here. This is your convergent divergent nozzle. So this is inlet section. So inlet section here, and fluid flow takes place in this direction. So fluid flow takes place here. So fluid flow direction in this. So flow direction as shown in figure here. This is your flow direction. This is your flow direction, and this is the wall of the nozzle here. Wall of the nozzle. And this is your minimum cross section of the nozzle. This section is called throat section. Throat. This is throat section. And this one is inlet section. You can write here. This is inlet, and this is outlet. Outlet. This is outlet. Okay. So that means, so convergent divergent nozzle. So initially here the cross section gradually reduces in the flow direction. Cross section gradually reduces in the flow direction. At the throat, the cross section is minimum here. So at the throat, this cross section is minimum. Then in the flow direction, so cross section gradually increases. Cross section gradually increases, and the maximum cross section value at the exit in case of convergent divergent nozzle. So here the maximum cross section here at the exit. Okay, so this shape is called convergent divergent nozzle. So this nozzle is generally used to obtain a supersonic velocity at the exit. So here we can get a supersonic velocity. So at the exit we can get a supersonic velocity. But here this is convergent nozzle. We cannot get a supersonic velocity here. We cannot get a supersonic velocity at the exit if we use the convergent nozzle. But here, so convergent divergent nozzle at the exit, supersonic velocity is possible. So that means if you uh, uh, have a requirement a supersonic velocity at the exit, then we have to consider a convergent divergent nozzle. And the minimum cross section of the nozzle is called the throat section. So this is a throat section here. So another shape is there. So this is convergent divergent nozzle. You can write here convergent divergent nozzle. Convergent divergent. Convergent divergent. And another shape, so that is also possible. So divergent nozzle here. So divergent nozzle means initial inlet section, the cross section is minimum, and in the flow direction, say cross section gradually increases here, just like this. So this is your inlet section, inlet, and here outlet, and flow direction here, and this is the wall section, wall of the nozzle, and here flow takes place in this direction. The flow takes place in this direction. Flow takes place in this direction. So divergent nozzle. So in case of divergent nozzle, you see here, or you can see at the exit, we get always supersonic velocity. So here we get always supersonic velocity, and at the inlet here, so velocity should be sonic or supersonic. So if velocity at the inlet is subsonic, so we cannot get supersonic velocity at the exit. Okay. So convergent shape, convergent divergent shape, and divergent shape. So different types, different shapes of nozzle can be used depending upon your requirement. Depending upon your requirement, generally these two types, convergent nozzle and convergent divergent nozzle, have been used in practice. Now, how nozzle flow can be analyzed by using the steady flow energy equation. So, steady flow energy equation, how we can analyze the nozzle flow. Say this is your nozzle, just arbitrarily I want to draw here. So this is a nozzle shape, say convergent divergent nozzle. You can use these things, say convergent divergent nozzle here, sorry, convergent nozzle here, and fluid flow takes place, and this is wall of the nozzle, and here inlet section, you should mention here inlet section, and this is outlet section, outlet section. And fluid flow takes place here, say flow section, and at the inlet section you can consider say 1-1 section, this is 1-1, and at the outlet that is 2-2 section, 2-2. And as fluid motion is there, so flow mass flow rate is there, so we have to consider a control volume here. So our control surface we have to consider. So this is your dotted line, control surface. So this is your control surface, and 2-2 here, 2-2, like this. This is your control surface, and control volume concept. Now using steady flow energy equation, so we can write here, applying steady flow energy equation here, right? Applying steady flow energy equation, applying steady flow energy equation, steady flow energy equation. Steady flow energy equation. So at the inlet, so we have to use this mathematical expression here. We can use this mathematical expression for the nozzle flow. So again, we want to write this mathematical expression. So H1 is there for steady flow energy equation. So H1 is there. That is enthalpy at the inlet here. Enthalpy at the inlet plus kinetic energy. So velocity V1 is there for nozzle flow. You know velocity at the inlet. So that is your velocity V1. Velocity at the inlet. So this velocity is called the velocity of approach. In case of nozzle flow, velocity at the inlet, sometimes it is called velocity of approach. It is called velocity of approach. Okay. So half v1 square plus g into z1, that is datum head, and it's plus q dot Q dot divided by M dot here, M dot, that should be equal to H2 plus half of V2 square, V2 square plus G into Z2 plus W dot divided by M dot. Distance. So generally nozzle flow, so there is no heat transfer. We consider the adiabatic wall situation. So wall is adiabatic for nozzle flow. If wall is adiabatic, so there will be no heat transfer taken place. So there will be no heat transfer taken place. For nozzle flow, we consider adiabatic flow, means no heat transfer taken place to the nozzle boundary, or to the nozzle surface, no heat transfer taken place. If there is no heat transfer, then Q dot by M, so this term equal to 0 for nozzle flow. This term equal to 0 because no heat transfer taken place. Your wall is adiabatic situation. Your wall, this wall is adiabatic situation. This wall is wall is rigid nozzle, so rigid wall. So from the rigid wall, we cannot get the power. We cannot get the flow. So this term equal to 0 for nozzle flow. So this term equal to 0 for nozzle flow. Another thing, Z1 and Z2, that is your datum head difference. Nozzle shape is very small generally, nozzle shape is very small. So we can neglect the datum head, GZ1 and GZ2. So we can assume that Z1 equal to Z2, therefore we can neglect GZ1 and GZ2. So here neglect this term and this, because Z1 equal to Z2, Z1 equal to Z2. Say V1 and V2, if we compare these two velocity at the inlet and velocity at the exit, we compare, obviously V2 is much greater than V1. So our objective is in nozzle, no, for nozzle flow, to increase the velocity. So as in a nozzle, fluid velocity increases. So at the exit, the velocity here much greater than the velocity at the inlet. So V1 is much smaller than V2. So as V1 is much smaller than V2, then we can neglect this term. So depending upon the situation, in most of the cases, we generally neglect the velocity at the inlet, that is V1, because V1 is very small compared to V2. So if in your problem it has been mentioned that, or in your problem if V1 is not given, then you can assume V1 equal to 0, because V1 is very small compared to V2. So therefore here just we want to keep this velocity V1. If we keep this velocity, then nozzle flow equation, that should be here H1 plus half of V1 square, that should be equal to H2 plus half of V2 square. This is your steady flow energy equation of a nozzle. This is your steady flow energy equation of this nozzle. So what assumption have been taken here to write this equation? What assumption have been taken? So number one, steady flow. That means flow does not depend on time. Okay, so with the variation of time, so any fluid property or flow property does not change. So that is one assumption already mentioned, steady. Already we have mentioned that, I have written that it is a steady flow energy equation. Means any property or any flow property, any fluid property does not depend on time. Number two assumption here, the nozzle wall is there. So through the nozzle wall, there is no heat transfer. That means nozzle wall is adiabatic condition. The nozzle wall is adiabatic condition. The nozzle wall is adiabatic condition, Q dot equal to 0. So already taken Q dot equal to 0 here, Q dot equal to 0. And Z1 equal to Z2. If the nozzle size is very difference is very small, so we can assume that Z1 equal to Z2. Therefore, effect of datum head can be neglected. Number four, so flow is one-dimensional. So here, flow is one-dimensional. We assume that flow is one-dimensional. Only one directional flow takes place. Now, from this mathematical expression, what we can get right, what we can write here. So this is h1 plus half v1 square, that is equal to h2 plus half v2 square. Or here you write these things equal to, say, h1 minus h2, h1 minus h2, that should be equal to half of into v2 square minus v1 square. Just going to write this mathematical expression in differential form. So this is not a differential form. Okay. Just we want to write this mathematical expression in differential form. Then h1 minus h2, that should be equal to, if you write this expression in differential form, we know that h2 minus h1, that is equal to dh, that is possible to write. So dh equal to h2 minus h1, but here h1 minus h2 is there, so we can write, we can express it, the above expression, in differential form as, so it should be minus d into h, d into h. So negative sign obviously, because dh means h2 minus h1, but here h1 minus h2, that's why negative sign has been come here. And these things equal to here half of v2 square minus v1 square, that can be written in differential form like this, pdv. Now if we integrate this, and if we consider the limit, it will be half of v2 square minus v1 square. If we integrate, say 1 to 2, it will be half of v2 square minus v1 square. Therefore, we can write here v dv. So half into v2 square minus v1 square. This expression can be expressed in differential form as v dv. And here minus dh equal to v dv. Okay. So for this above expression, now minus dA is change in enthalpy or heat content, you know. So enthalpy H equal to U plus PV, and use this, it will be here, say dH. So H means U plus PV, means here, say du plus P into dV plus V into dP. Yeah. So that should be equal to, VdV. That should be equal to VdV here. Okay. Now here du plus PdV here. So this term from the first law of thermodynamics, if only PdV work is there, because delta W is there. So del Q equal to du plus delta W. In delta W, only PdV work is there. So if only PdV work exists, then from the first law of thermodynamics, du plus PdV, that should be equal to delta Q, small q. that should be equal to delta Q. Okay. So du plus PdV from the first law of thermodynamics, it should be del Q. Okay. And already we assume that there is no heat transfer from the system and surrounding. Your nozzle wall is adiabatic situation. As the nozzle wall is adiabatic, so we can here write del Q equal to 0 here. So del Q equal to 0. So nozzle wall is adiabatic. Already this assumption has been considered. So del Q equal to 0. So therefore here we can write minus VdP for nozzle flow, that should be equal to VdV here. This is your mathematical expression for nozzle flow, and this is equation. So what type of equation it is? So this is energy equation definitely, H1 plus half V1 square, that is equal to H2 plus half V2 square. So this is energy equation, okay, for nozzle flow. Energy equation of a nozzle flow, that should be this H1 plus half V1 square, that is equal to H2 plus V square. But this one, so energy equation in differential form. So energy equation in differential form. So it is called momentum equation. So this is momentum equation. This is momentum equation, and this is energy equation. So energy equation in differential form is always momentum equation. So this is momentum equation here you can write. Okay. So if you integrate this, then you will get velocity, or you know you can get the velocity to integrate this. So VdV is there. That means in nozzle, so expansion takes place. In nozzle means what? So pressure reduces in the nozzle and velocity increases. As pressure reduces, so expansion takes place in nozzle. So expansion means so volume increases. As pressure reduces, volume increases. Means expansion takes place in nozzle. Okay. So if expansion takes place, then what will happen? So what uh, process is there to expand? What process? So whether it is P to the power n equal to constant, or P to the power gamma equal to or PV equal to constant. So isothermal process, or reversible adiabatic process, or adiabatic process, or polytropic process. So this process should be known. If the process, if the expansion process is known, then uh, we can integrate this equation, the momentum equation, to get the velocity. To get the velocity, if we integrate, and if the process, if the expansion process is known, then only possible we can integrate. So because V and P relationship is required to integrate this momentum equation in order to obtain the velocity of steam, velocity of fluid in the nozzle. Okay, so only we can do the integration if P and V, if the expansion process is known. If P and V relationship is known, then it is possible to integrate. Already we have considered the adiabatic process. Adiabatic process means there is no heat transfer to the system boundary. There is no heat transfer. So adiabatic process, then whether it is reversible adiabatic or not. So that should be specified. If it is reversible adiabatic, then we know that PV to the power gamma equal to constant. So expansion process, P and V relationship is known, and that relationship is PV to the power gamma equal to constant. Okay, so using this PV to the power gamma equal to constant, so it is possible to integrate this equation to determine the velocity, and that is your ideal situation. That means no friction is there, no heat transfer is there between system and surrounding, between nozzle and surrounding. Okay, and then integration is possible at d to the power gamma equal to known, and gamma equal to, if it is here 1.4 or whatever, uh, or if it is steam 1.3 like this. So that means the relationship between P and V will be known, then only possible we to integrate this equation to determine velocity. And this equation is called momentum equation for nozzle flow. And this is your expression. The above expression is the energy equation for a nozzle flow. This is energy equation. So in using this equation, it is also possible to get velocity V2. But in that case, H1 and H2, if these two are known, and if V1 has been mentioned, if V1 is assumed to 0, so velocity of approach is 0 to the nozzle. If V1 is 0, if H1, H2 are known, then we can determine the V2 using your energy equation. Okay. So this is your energy equation, this is your momentum equation for nozzle flow. Now, throttling process. Throttling. So under steady state energy equation, this process can be explained. Throttling process. So what is throttling process? One valve is there. So this is your pipe. Inside the pipe, fluid flow direction is shown in figure here. So here one valve is there. So this is your one valve. This valve is called throttle valve, and this is exit fluid. So this is inlet fluid, the valve, and exit fluid from the valve. So inlet fluid and outlet fluid. And this valve is called throttle valve. Throttle valve. Now, to analyze this, we consider one control volume. Okay. So at the inlet here, we consider say section 1 here. This is section 1 on at the inlet, and at the exit, say section 2. Section 2. Okay. So using steady flow energy equation, the throttling process can be explained. The throttling process can be explained. So throttling means one valve is there, and when fluid flows through the throttle valve, so pressure decreases. So pressure your decreases means throttling process means pressure decreases definitely. So pressure reduces. Pressure reduces here. So at the inlet, say pressure is here, say P1. At the exit, pressure is P2, and throttling process P1 is greater than P2. P1 is greater than P2. Now using steady flow energy equation, we can write here. So steady flow energy equation. So using steady flow energy equation, steady flow energy equation. Using steady flow energy equation. So at the inlet, your enthalpy is H1, plus kinetic energy half of V1 square plus potential energy say dZ1 plus heat transfer per unit mass if heat exchange takes place. So that should be equal to, already I have written this, say Q dot divided by M dot here. That should be equal to H2 at the exit, kinetic energy plus potential energy plus here W by M dot. So it is a throttle valve. Obviously, it is a valve. So boundary, rigid boundary is there. So there is no work developed. So this should be zero. There is no work developed. Okay. And we assume that during throttling, no heat transfer takes place. This valve is very small. So Q dot can be zero here. Q dot can be zero. And as this valve is very small, we can neglect the potential head because Z1 should be Z2. We can neglect this potential energy. This and this should be zero. Should be zero. And another things, velocity at the inlet and velocity at the outlet after throttling. So pipe is same, more or less same pipe. So inlet velocity should be outlet velocity, diameter is same. So inlet velocity equal to outlet velocity. So for throttling process, this velocity V1 should be equal to V2. Should be equal to V2 here. So V1 equal to V2. So we neglect this effect velocity. So therefore, throttling process means H1 equal to H2. So throttling process means H1 equal to H2. That means enthalpy does not change in throttling process. So in throttling process, enthalpy does not change. That's why this process is called isoenthalpy process. Isoenthalpy process, that is your throttling process. So in throttling process, enthalpy does not change. So H1 equal to H2 or equal to, here you write say H equal to constant for throttling process. Although pressure reduces here, so inlet pressure is P1, outlet pressure is P2, so pressure reduces. During throttling, pressure reduces, but the process of throttling is isoenthalpy. That means enthalpy does not change. So that should be H equal to constant during throttling process. Hello,
Yes, sir.
Sahil Singh.
Yes, sir.
Everything is okay for you?